Now, as we heard from our distinguished panelists, it is one thing to have a good idea and have good intentions, but it is quite another to put it into action, and particularly in a way that has an impact and transforms the lives of millions of people. But I think that's what our WISE Prize Laureate has achieved in his lifetime. And I think we'll all agree that we have a very worthy winner for the first recipient of the WISE Prize for Education. Let me welcome onto the stage Sir Fazle Hasan Abed, founder of BRAC.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a matter of great honor and privilege for me to be standing before you today to deliver this address. Over the ages, the Arabian Peninsula has seen great spiritual and intellectual ferment and served as a vital conduit for the spread of secular knowledge and spiritual values to the wider world. So it is only fitting that the WISE Summit be held in Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all gathered here because of a shared belief in the importance of education in addressing inequities present in our world today. I have discovered time and again in my 4 decades of work with BRAC that education is the fundamental catalyst for change. Today, I will talk about how we at BRAC used education as one of the central themes in addressing the issue of inequity over the last 4 decades. In these difficult financial times, as more and more people rise up to speak for the 99%, occupying streets across various cities of the world, the issue of inequity has been thrown into the forefront of world politics. How do we begin to address this? At the time of BRAC's inception 40 years ago, 3/4 of Bangladesh's population was illiterate. The very first development plan for BRAC aimed to bring 100% literacy to the adult population of 200 Bangladeshi villages. The progression from adult literacy to education of children occurred naturally in the course of addressing intergenerational poverty. The poor state of primary education in Bangladesh in the 1980s prompted us to start second chance schools for disadvantaged children. Our pilot began with 22 non-formal primary schools and a design that would address the challenges linked to gender, proximity, affordability, and the flexibility that was required for children from poor, illiterate households. What emerged from the pilot was a highly innovative, low-cost model in primary education. Our one-room, one-teacher schools each enrolled about 30 children, a majority of them girls. Children were taught the basic primary curriculum and took part in co-curricular activities. The focus was on making process of learning enjoyable. Children from the poorest families who had never enrolled or had dropped out of formal schools were enrolled and provided with educational materials and supplies for free. Ladies and gentlemen, though we are here to celebrate innovation, we must accept that innovation alone is not enough. In a world rife with poverty and deprivation, addressing any widespread problem requires reaching significant scale. Once we are convinced of the effectiveness of our school model, we expanded nationally. We also grew vertically to address different needs. We started pre-primary schools for early starts and started schools for ethnic minority children and those with special needs. In order to address high dropout rates at the secondary level, we provided training for teachers and high school headmasters and high school administrators. As we continue to approach our work through a life cycle lens, in 2001, we set up BRAC University in an attempt to produce leaders who would be responsive to the needs of the poor. Beyond addressing that social need, the creation of knowledge was prioritized at the university through the setting up of several postgraduate institutes for research in areas critical to Bangladesh's development. Ladies and gentlemen, these experiences I have just shared with you demonstrate the process of constant innovation which we employed at BRAC to overcoming inequities in Bangladesh's education sector. Our model was one that could be adapted to the context of any developing country, and BRAC itself has expanded beyond Bangladesh to 9 countries across Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. I am proud to state that BRAC is now the largest private secular education provider in the world, with 30,000 primary schools, 15,000 pre-primary schools. To date, nearly 5 million children, 60% girls, have graduated from BRAC schools, and an overwhelming majority of them have gone on to public school system, performing on average better than their mainstream peers. I could talk to you at great length about our work, but not be able to explain the pride I felt meeting Mithu, the daughter of a Bangladeshi brickfield worker, as she was about to go to university abroad on a scholarship facilitated by BRAC. I would not be able to adequately convey the excitement in Mithu's face at the thought of the possibility that lay ahead of her, having come this far from one room, one teacher BRAC school in her village in a remote corner of Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to highlight 3 issues for education innovators, thought leaders, and policymakers. Till recently, the issue of early childhood development has been dealt with primarily in the context of health and nutrition. Equally important at this stage are opportunities for attachment, learning through exploration, discovery and stimulation, as these ensure the child's cognitive, motor, language, and emotional development. The clock is ticking unless proactive effort is made in both research into practical application for ECD and teachers training. The development window will close for 200 million children under the age of 5. This, I consider early childhood development to be the next frontier for educational development in developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the world around us is becoming increasingly complex and fast-paced, and traditional social structures are dissolving rapidly. It is becoming essential for us to equip our children with the social and emotional tools necessary to navigate through life. These essential skills of 21st century workforce enable us to tackle difficult situations and make decisions that are socially effective. They promote teamwork and more effective organization, enhance harmony in families, and greater gender equality. I believe that the education of the future must take into account the necessity of building these social and emotional skills. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe technology has the potential to truly democratize education. I envision a world where even the poorest student in the remotest corner of the world will be able to learn from the world's best teachers because technology will have overcome financial barriers just as it has overcome geographical barriers. They will also be able to participate in the creation of and perpetuation of ideas and human experience. The education of today must prepare the citizens of tomorrow to thrive in this interconnected world. In the developing world, it will be important to keep this future in mind, so this does not become yet another type of exclusion for our children. This means investing now in the right tools and technologies to ensure universal access. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude with a 2,500-year-old quote from Confucius. When knowledge is extended, the will becomes sincere. When the will is sincere, the mind is correct. When the mind is correct, the self is cultivated. When the self is cultivated, the clan is harmonized. When the clan is harmonized, the country is well governed. When the country is well governed, there will be peace throughout the land. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.